The lower quality of paying, the more complications you tend to get. The longer you're in the business, the more you want to remove yourself from the business, which sounds wrong. If I'm paying Mark Zuckerberg all this cash, then let's make it a really long form video. And what ended up happening is people watch the whole ad and then they're like, wait a minute, I just watched the whole ad? This was an ad. Wait, what's going on?
Hello and welcome to the Art of Selling online courses. We are here to share winning strategies and secret hacks from top performers in the online course industry. My name is Dominik and today's guest is Timotej Bonifer. Most people believe that if English isn't your first language, there is a ceiling and you'll always hit it. Today's guest is a kid from Slovenia who blew straight through that ceiling. He sounds native, he coaches other people to sound native, and here's the twist, he didn't learn it in a classroom. He learned it playing video games. 12 years behind the microphone, commenting, gaming, talking for hours a day. The same habit his family probably worried was ruining his life is the exact thing that built his career. So he gave it that X talk about it. He called it How My Gaming Addiction Saved My Life. Now he runs a course business with hundreds of clients, an AI coach, and a method he swears can change how you sound in 12 days. So how do you turn an obsession into an income, and what does a non-native speaker understand about teaching English that the natives never will? Let's find out. So today we are going to talk about why he tells people to stop learning English from native speakers and learn from someone who actually had to crack it, and what it takes to compress a decade of skill into a product, an ebook, a video course, and an AI coach that teaches his method for him, and so much more. Timotej, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. That was a really incredible intro. I keep thinking about it. Every time people introduce me, part of my brain wants to start speaking with Balkan accent, just to make it really awkward in the beginning. But I think we'll jump into that at a later stage. Thank you.
Perfect. No worries. No worries. So I want to start somewhere most people wouldn't expect. So you didn't grow up speaking English. Slovenian parents, Slovenian school, same lessons everyone else got. And yet you sound native. So let's go back. When did you first realize you sounded different from everyone else learning English around?
I mean, it's not about sounding different. It's more about finding what you're good at. So maybe I can twist it in this sense and ask the question for the audience also. Find what you're good at. I always knew that English was something I was naturally good at because I never had to learn it. At a later stage, that proved to be a problem because when I went to university and tried to study English, I realized now I'm going to have to learn it, and I don't know how to learn English because I've never learned it before. I just used it. But what did happen is I started creating content online. And when you go through the process of recording yourself, listening to yourself, even observing yourself if you're on video, you realize very quickly that it's off. It doesn't sound that good. Then you start imitating a little bit, and you're like, what if I make myself sound more British? What if I imitate, I don't know, Jeremy Clarkson? Does that sound better? Does it sound worse? Oh, better? Do I go with the glottal stop, which is a better? Because then it sounds too British. British. There's always multiple ways that we can approach it. And I still swear to this day to follow the rule of what sounds good to me. So I often get comments, I'll give you a direct example of this. The word advertisement. Everybody uses it, everybody knows it. But the correct British pronunciation is not advertisement, it's advertisement. And it sounds horrible. So I'd never use it myself. But of course, somebody who's trained by the machine of schooling in their theoretical, which is also why I don't like the school system that much, is that they produce these people, end up talking like robots because they think this is the correct way to say it. Realistically speaking, nothing about any language is correct. Most of it is wrong because that's how languages get formed. Is somebody just picked up a word, and we could talk about this, let's say your Croatian, I'm Slovenian, we have some words that are similar, some words that are completely different. Sometimes I'm like, why do you guys call it like that? Then you'd be like, why do you guys call it like that? So slang English comes into play, different sub-accents come into play. So I was always more passionate about the accent. I was passionate about what makes me sound better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about, do I sound different, but do I sound more enjoyable to listen to? Because let's be real, when you sit down with someone and they have a nice voice, it's soothing to listen to. Your favorite professors, I guarantee you, and there were a few of them, they had a good voice, a good story, good charisma, good energy. If I walk into a classroom and there's a high-pitched squeaking Karen, I don't think I'm going to be learning that much from that classroom. I'll put my headphones in, I'll be leaning on the wall and sleeping. So that's kind of where it started, I feel, is observing your own voice and saying, okay, I don't like this, let's change it.
That's nice. And then you flip it into a belief that genuinely, I think, annoys some people in your industry. So you tell learners that they should not learn English from a native speaker. So make the case. Why is a non-native a better teacher than someone who actually grew up with it?
Yeah, so there's advantages and disadvantages. I want to clarify that I work with various coaches that also fulfill my service. Some of them are native. The
Mhm.
reason I do this is because if you look at a language, it has to do a lot with culture. And a native speaker has the advantage of understanding the culture inside and out, sometimes too much so. Sometimes we're very blind by what's actually happening around us. So I know, even though I've been speaking Slovenian for all my life, I couldn't in a million years teach someone Slovenian. In fact, 2 days ago, a woman reached out to me, sent me a massive message on Instagram. She said, "Hey, I know from Slovenia, my cousin or someone in the family is there and he's like learning and speaking on the radio. And he's like, could you teach him Slovenian?" And I was like, respectfully, no, I'm not even going to think about doing that. Like, you'd have to pay me £1,000,000 for me to even just think about proceeding through that process because I don't even know where to start. And it's because you're too involved in the culture. On the other side, when you have a non-native and they've overcome the accent, it's a copy paste. So if I have a coach that speaks, let's say, with American accent, they sound like Matthew McConaughey, and they're from Croatia. And then you come to me and you say, "Tim, I have Croatian accent. I want to speak more like American." I'm like, "Okay, I'll just put you to that coach." Because the coach will follow you through the same example. And look, obviously it's down to your work, but you can see it and you say, "I think that's replicatable." And the same thing works in other industries. I mean, if you're I don't know, from the top of my head, I'm thinking of a woman who's selling courses to other women who just had their kid and now they're in their postpartum area and they want to get back into like looking fit and, you know, bikini season and all that. If I want to buy that as a young mum, I want to buy from someone who's had a kid. I wouldn't want to buy from an influencer from, you know, some other part of the world on Bali that's never had a kid because that's not my demographic. It doesn't speak to them. And I think this is kind of also where I crack the case of marketing. I didn't even know it because everywhere I go, it's just native, native, native. And like, I'm going to teach you how to speak like me. It's like, no, because you don't know how to get there because you that's where you started. You can't show someone how to get to a starting location. You can show them how to get to the end location if your starting location is somewhat similar. And that's why I think it works really well to work with non-natives rather than natives.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So let's get into what you've actually built because it's more than a course. You've got a master class, you've got a method with a name, you have an AI coach, and you also have a community. So start me at the center of it. So let's take the
Correct.
ARM method, for
I'll
example.
break it down a little bit. So
Mhm.
the ARM method is part of the 12th English Masterclass, which we can
Mhm.
spend a little bit of time talking about because it's more than just an ebook. In essence, that's where it started. Then it ended up being an audiobook and has video course. It's a video course that covers it, and then there's also video courses inside of it. So it's dotted with materials. The ARM method stands for action, repetition, mastery. And I didn't make that for the readers. I made that for me because I suffered from that. Even in business, in everyday life, in sports, in relationships, like the first step should always be just action. Just do it. Don't think about it too much. Just get started. And then you want to just keep repeating that process. And you repeat and you make mistakes and you iterate and you correct and you fix and you improve. And that's like everything in life works like that. You could imagine Hormozy here, you know, screaming from the top of his lungs, like volume, volume. And you're like, okay, yes, sir, Hormozy, I'll do it. And then last step is you become a master, which is all about the hours, because the more hours you put into it, again, volume, the better the results are going to get. Now, what I will correct from you when it comes to the AI coach was actually initially the idea that there's an app called Delphi or an AI service that allows you to clone yourself. And the first thing I did when I bought that subscription about 2 years ago is I thought I would sell it. I thought, hey, this is a great idea. I'll just clone myself and then my AI can do the work for me. The problem is I'm not really an AI fan. I don't like AI. I don't use it that much. And the issue with the actual service is it's very difficult to develop an AI that's going to fix somebody's pronunciation. It's so nuanced that can it be done? Probably. But here again, you're running into a problem. People who are so good at designing AI are also the last people I would go to advice for when it comes to speaking. So that's where I think they're stuck in the loop, and people developing these bold voice apps and all the other copies that are going to get formed from it, they will probably make some money. They will be selling to low ticket clients. They'll be selling masses. They'll probably have to use influencers and UGC creators to get there. And so what I did instead is I spoke to the CEO of Delphi, and he said, look, Tim, the reason I made this app, this program, is because I wanted to talk to my granddad. So he wanted to have a memory of him. And he said, Tim, I would suggest that instead of using it as a program you're selling, use it as like an assisted tool where people can get to talk to a copy of you, essentially. So I think it was a paid subscription for maybe like 2 months. And I think 2 women actually purchased it. I don't know why. Maybe because they like the voice. Possibly a different upsell I could provide for them. But what I ended up doing is just making it free. So that's there as like a little gift. So once you fall into our email sequence. I think the very second email is like, hey, here's a gift. I'll link them the AI and then they can use it. Truth be told, I haven't touched the AI in a year. So it's completely outdated. It probably has some of the wrong info, but to be honest, I can't really be bothered because most of our focus right now is on one-on-one coaching. And obviously you're talking high ticket, we're talking clients from all around the world, from Dubai, for example, entrepreneurs, business individuals, people you can really quote for nice sums of money and you can actually get them to the result because they're committed. And then the issue I face there is that I'm just one person. So yes, I would love to have 15 copies of me. It'd be like a clone from Star Wars, but then the service would be very diluted. So instead I started to look for great talent. And so I went from basically a digital product seller to a service provider to now being essentially like an agency. So we're trying to grow that model now. We have about 10 plus coaches from all around the world. And it's proven to be quite a challenge to find good talent, which I'm now understanding why this business model worked so well for me, why my advertisements speak to so many people. Because I went on Preply, on italki, on all these websites looking for tutors to steal. And I was shocked at just how bad the average tutor is. Most of them that are non-native, unfortunately, have the level of the accent that our clients have or lower, which is already pretty bad. And then the native speakers have the issue of not being presentable. So they have a weird voice. They clearly haven't listened to themselves or worked on it. There's the occasional radio guy who is like, oh my God, this guy's like, 65 years old, has an incredible voice. But other than that, you'll find people sounding like Stitch. It's like, hey guys, I'm going to be coaching you. I'm like, I don't know if I want to take coaching from that. But again, I'm biased. I openly say that I am auditorily autistic, which I think is just a fancy way of saying that I'm triggered by different sounds. So I don't like birds chirping in the morning. I don't like when people are driving motorbikes around our town. I like peace. I like people to have a good solid voice. And that's why also my voice has been evolved to a point that I think suits most people. Obviously, there's people out there that don't like my voice. They're like, oh, Tim sounds so arrogant, full of himself. Whatever. That's, your personal preference. But I find that if you don't work on your voice, how are you going to sell it? So you have to be obsessed with it. People that sell in the fitness industry, like I mentioned before, they have to be obsessed with their body. They're obsessed with the diet. I used to work as a chef, for example. We can touch upon that as well. You have to be obsessed with the food you're making. Every single grain of salt has to be perfectly placed on the plate. Little green herb oil that you put around the plating, it has to be immaculate. And so perfection is that ultimate trait that will get people not to come, but to stay with you, to stay with your brand and to follow that. So yeah, long story short to say, I'm now looking for the best talent. So if anybody listens to this and they're like, oh my God, I've also got an amazing accent, welcome to apply. Something that would be very, very helpful.
Yeah, I'm sure someone who is listening either knows someone or is the person. So we'll see. After this episode is out, we'll make sure to reach out if anyone reaches out to us. What about other products like School Community, if I'm not mistaken? Walk us through that.
I mean, I was one of the first people in my group of entrepreneurs that kind of jumped onto the School Community, and it failed. Colossally failed. My first approach was public speaking. So I thought, hey, I love public speaking. I don't want to do something that's too English related because I thought it was going to be boring. I made it free. I ran it through my TikTok account, I think, 2 years ago. Basically, nobody joined. 100 people got in, nobody was active. I shut that down. Then I try again. I make it a flip English community. I tried something more generic. That flopped again. And then we saw a bit of success with the English for Entrepreneurs. Idea being is to get people together that are in high ticket sales or people that are starting to get with content. But I have to be very honest, I haven't spent a lot of time developing that. Unfortunately, when it comes to being a solopreneur, I think School is amazing. Basically put all your courses, all your materials on there, run all the ads to School or all the funnels leading to School, do your couple of weekly or monthly calls, you'll be golden. But when you go in the direction of an agency, the School Community will maybe generate for me on a monthly basis the same amount of money that I can collect from one client in 15 minutes. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to spend too much effort on a machine that requires a lot of input. I have to get the coaches to also fulfill the service, to do the group calls, motivate these people. Again, it's also, I feel, a great low ticket product. It's a great thing to do for free. But then you're serving a completely different demographic. And for me, I want to move into B2B. I want to move into public speaking. I want to move into doing webinars, conferences, mastermind events, again, mentioning Hormozy, hey, fly into a country. We'll do a 3-day event. We'll build out your, let's say, sales team if you're a big company. There's a lot of ideas there. And I don't want to be dealing with low ticket people anymore. And I have a lot of reasons for it. I feel like I've been on the customer side. I've been on the person providing the service. There's a lot of hassle for very little benefit. And you have to decide as a business if you want to go into high ticket or low ticket, because you're not going to be able to do both. And for a long time, I wanted to do both. So as things continue to move forward, we're going to start scaling down on the offer structure that we have, because sometimes it doesn't make sense. We opened a secondary school community as well. We wanted to provide a lot of value for people, and they just didn't seem to respect it. They'd pay about 27 euros per month, which I think is nothing compared to what we're charging for a high ticket. That wouldn't even be like 15 minutes of a program in high ticket. And they were getting multiple calls per month, and they just were not joining. They were not active. They were not engaged. And I'm not saying that that's the responsibility of the clients. I believe that as an offer owner, we could have done a way better job at how we launched it, how we created challenges, got people engaged. But again, you're thinking huge amounts of effort for very little bit of reward. And so school, I think, is something that I would really recommend for those entrepreneurs that want to do stuff solo. Those of them that want to have like bigger offers, that are moving into high ticket. I just don't think it makes that much sense. And I also think that when somebody is making a lot of money, and you want to target them as a client, I don't want them to be on school, because they have other groups they can join and it just dilutes their focus. So I, as a high ticket person, would rather have just a WhatsApp chat or a Discord group that is easily accessible. I can easily connect with the other members, do the networking. I would definitely prefer in-person events if possible. So you're servicing an entirely different clientele, and for that you need to have a different approach.
Makes sense. So let's talk about how people find you, because you got the same raw material a lot of other creators have. So YouTube and Instagram, for example. But you came from a world where you already knew how to hold an audience with a mic, right? So what's actually bringing you the most new people right now?
Facebook ads, landslide victory. To be completely honest with you, I'm struggling with organic content because I don't really make it. What I do is I record YouTube videos. I take clips. Even from this conversation that we're having, I'm going to take a couple of video clips as I'm talking. I use OBS to extract them. I send them to my editor, and then he's the one that schedules it all over the course of the month. I don't put focus onto organic content as much because I feel like it's a hit or miss. And in today's day and age, it's all about finding the algorithm. So everybody's trying to hack the code to go viral. And when they crack it, then they just keep making the same videos over and over again. And I find that it has two things. Can it grow your business? Absolutely. Can it also just create a bunch of useless, spammy, entertaining content that doesn't really benefit anyone? Absolutely. And I feel that's what's happening with most creators. Is they're just trying to gain that popularity, but it doesn't have any long-term traction. And it doesn't feel that fun for me to say, oh, I've got this script I'm going to have to read, and I have to say this and record 5 different shots. Like, I can't be bothered. I would rather that people listen to me because of my voice for prolonged periods of time. And so I will consistently make more longer form content. And what I did in the very beginning was make Facebook ads that were 7-8 minutes long. Because I thought to myself, I'm paying for the ad anyways. Might as well make it longer. Like, what's the point of a 30-second short? I can post that for free. I can repost it on all the other platforms. But if I'm paying Mark Zuckerberg all this cash, then let's make it a really long form video. And what ended up happening is people watch the whole ad and then they're like, wait a minute, I just watched the whole ad? This was an ad. Wait, what's going on? And I use a lot of different tactics to create it as unedited as possible, as spontaneous, using a Rubik's Cube to motivate people, to distract them, switch between different accents. The first advertisements I started recording were in Slovenia, and I'll be switching mid-sentence from Slovenian to English so that people watching would go like, what the heck is going on? I also pulled the Hermosi thing, had the nose strip, partially because of marketing, partially because I realized, hey, makes me breathe better. Why not use it every once in a while? So anything to get that attraction going, ads have been a game changer for it. But I do feel like we're lacking on organic. I do feel like there's stuff that we can do moving forward, but I'm just one person, and, you have to decide which piece of content, which piece of your business is going to get most of your attention. And I wagered that organic is the least important one for me. Mm-hmm. If I was in some get-rich-quick scheme, then yeah, you go out there, you rent your Lamborghini, you show people how amazing you are, and then, they buy into your basically multi-level marketing scheme or whatever it might be. And I hate that. I don't like it. And I find that content on social media should be segregated into entertainment and into education, and they should be separate. And so it's a pain point of mine, and we could go down to the rabbit hole, but long story short, most of our traffic comes from paid advertising.
Mm-hmm. And how does the customer journey look like from when they see the Facebook ads until they become your buyer? And is there something that happens after that? Do you have something else to offer them?
For a long time, that whole process was very, very bad. There was a moment where I was working everything on my own, probably about 8 months ago. There's no emails. Everything was kind of like dry. But the primary process is separated into two types of ad structures. Now, admittedly, right now, and for the last 3 months, my operations manager, Nick, has been taking care of everything. So I went from doing all the ads myself to completely letting go of it because he structured it in a certain way. I mean, if I open up my ad manager, I can see he's got some long form hammer then campaign, short form hammer then campaign, warm content cycle bin. Half of this stuff, I don't even know what it is. He explained it to me. I was like, look, if it works, it works. Well, my mentality with ads, people laugh at me when I tell them this. When I was doing ads, I ran a very simple Excel spreadsheet, and it said every day, this is how much I spent, this is how much we sold. That's the only metric I looked at. So I did not look at any client acquisition cost, LTV, all these fancy terminologies that marketers use. I literally just looked at how much I spent, how much I got. But to answer your question on the client's journey, we basically work it like this. We sell the ebook, and then whatever overlap we have, that is being spent on the coaching ads. And then the coaching ads, if we can have basically a net zero, so if ads are making either a profit or zero, we're doing really, really well. The ebook always has an upsell. We have 2 bump orders at the moment. So the grammar course, which is like, hey, if you're bad at grammar like I am, then I will explain grammar to you from the point of view of an idiot. I literally consider myself an idiot. I call the course An Idiot's Grammar Guide by an Idiot. It's a funny way to phrase it, but quite a few people buy that upsell. So €49 ebook, €19 bump order. And then I also have the storytelling course, which is also quite an eccentric one. And then after they come through the checkout, and this was a genius thing that I added after chatting with a friend a while back, was he said, Tim, make an auto. And I was like, Otto? Otto who? Is that a name? What is an auto? He said, no, Tim, it's a one-time offer. And I was like, okay, what is that? He said, okay, look. So somebody's already bought something from you, they already paid you, and you already have their credit card. So just ask them for a limited time only, countdown timer, all that fancy bit, offer them something. And that used to actually be the school community. That's kind of how I started. I was like, hey, you've already done all this stuff. How about I give you a coaching call with me plus access to the community that otherwise costs this much for like, I don't know, $250. So they'll pay for that as well. And then we play around with how to structure that. And we ask them, are you an entrepreneur? Because then it's like one community. If they're not, it's a different community. And that hasn't been performing all that well. But again, both me and Nick are focused entirely on that other form, which is the coaching. And this is where the big money is made. So what we do is we send people to a landing page where they watch a video and then they fill out a relatively long form. The form collects their information. I want to know, there's 3 things that are important for me from a client. Number 1 is their actual English level, which we haven't really done a good job of collecting, but it's very difficult because they'll say, oh, I have C2 level English. Then they come on a call and I'm like, yeah, that's arguable. The second one that's important is their sort of cultural background, because working with somebody from Dubai who's got Lebanese roots is entirely different than somebody who's Russian or somebody who's, I don't know, living in the UK, but they're Polish. So understanding who they are, what their background is, that also addresses the problem, who's going to be coaching them. So in the back of my mind, I have to think of a matchmaker, because it's not like you join my program, I give you a copy-paste coach, they're all the same. No, it's like I'll find the best person for you, depending on what their background is, what languages they speak, what culture they understand. And then last but not least, finances. This pisses some people off, but we legitimately ask them, what do you currently do? Which business niche are you in? Are you an entrepreneur? How much money are you making? Because I need to understand also from the perspective of, hey, if you're in sales and you're making 5K right now, if I give you better English, you might be making 10, 15K. So it's important for you to know where that person is. And what's also worked for us quite well, I think it's a price drop feature. So there's a condition in the form which essentially says if they choose to invest, we ask them, like, how much money would you be willing to invest into this? Like, realistically, right now, today, is it like all the money in the world? I don't care. I just need my problem fixed. Or is it like, maybe a little small investment, little deposit, €1,000. I'm like, okay, because for €1,000, I can't give you a full-fledged coaching. Like, this just financially not going to work. So then we sort of price drop and we say, look, our lowest entry point that we can kind of get you started off would be like, let's say 2.5K. Is that something you can work with? Because if they say no to that, then it's like, I'm not getting on a call with you and my closer's not getting on a call with you. Then we just send them to that community and we're like, look, join, something you can buy, but you're not qualified. Because that was one of the biggest problems, is I used to take all the calls myself. So you can imagine, I'm doing sales calls, I'm doing coaching calls, I'm building the products, I'm doing the marketing, I'm recording the content, I'm editing some of the basic content. Like my brain was all over the place. And even now we have so much influx of these applications that you have to filter out the bad ones. Not to mention the no-shows, the ones that are just not serious about it. Then you get my favorite one is when you have a potential closer that wants to work for your company. So they apply through your form, which is a really bad way to do it, because you're not going to get to talk to me, you're going to get to talk to the closer. The closer is not going to get you into the company. So you've used the wrong approach to get the job. But I digress. For me, that form then takes them through a call, whether it's with me or with one of my closers. And then if we can close them on a call, the coaching progress is actually pretty simple, but we have a couple of problems that we still have to fix. First, you get a 30-minute free consultation with that coach. And obviously after you've paid something. So we're like, please give me some deposit. I need some kind of financial investment before I spend the time with my coach to chat with you. And then the coach does a bit of a diagnostics. On the call, you're like, oh, this is a good vibe. Happy to move forward. We collect the full payment or the installment or whatever it is, and we get you started. If not, I'm always like, hey, if it doesn't work for you, we'll find you a different coach and a different coach and a different coach, or you'll get your money back. So it's also about filtering out the non-serious leads. Sometimes, unfortunately, whatever business you're in, you'll find leads who, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's they want the problem to be solved on their behalf. They feel like because I've paid, now somehow my English will magically get better. It won't if you're not consistent with joining the calls, doing the homework. Don't join on your phone when you're out at the gym or driving. That's really disrespectful. And then you tell them it's disrespectful and they're like, oh, you're wasting my time. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is not going to work. The door's over there. Bye-bye. So the biggest issue really is qualifying leads. And again, what I've noticed, to go back to the point I made before, the lower quality of paying, the more complications you tend to get. And this hurt me. Because I used to be a regular employee. I used to look at these hustlers and Hormozis and Gary Vaynerchuks and all these, Iman Gadzis or whoever's. I thought, man, these guys are such dickheads. They're making so much money and they're talking down on all the average person. I want to help the average person. And then you realize that the average person is a moron. No offense, but the average person has no idea. I'll tell you a story. This is a true story. A woman once messaged me on Instagram. This was 3.5 years ago. I was selling the ebook for €5. Okay. So ebook called 12-Day English Masterclass, €5. She sends me an Instagram message. She's like, yes, I was looking at this. I'm not sure if, what I want to know is because it's 12 days. Does that mean that I get like a one-on-one call with you every day for 12 days? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I come to your home. I give you a massage as well. I'm your private chauffeur. Like, how do you get to that? Like, how does that even come across your mind? And you realize as you work with sort of low-paying clients that they're just causing you so much problems. Oh, I'm not happy with this. I'm not sure how this works. I sell my ebook in Google Drive. And I did this deliberately because I thought if I have a platform, if it needs a login, I'm going to get 5 emails a day from someone like, oh, I forgot the email and the password and it doesn't work. And it's a link to Google Drive. You can't possibly screw it up. You can. Somehow you can. Some people they don't know how to open Google Drive and just download the file. And so like Hormozi said and everybody else has said, solve rich people problem. They pay better, but also they complicate less. Mm-hmm. It's like, I can do it for 500. It's like, oh yeah, but I got it. With the moon is not in the right position. It's like, I want 5,000. Yeah, no problem. Here's my credit card. I remember my first high ticket client where I was like, I raised the price. I went from like €4,800 to 7.5K. And I was like, there's no way you're saying yes. He's like, okay, I'll pay now. We get started in February. I'm just there like, where's the objection? Where's the what the what's going on? And you realize how much easier it is to do business with them. And it has nothing to do with the money. It has all to do with how they approach it. And so I'll go back to fitness. Because if I was a fitness coach, if I was in that business, I'd rather work with people that pay a lot of money and you put your whole attention to them as opposed to a gym subscription for like $30. Because they show up when? They show up for the first week of January and that's it. Rest of the year, empty. They might come in to take a free shower. That's about the best they'll do.
If so. What about your email list? Are you doing something with it?
Not really. Truth be told, I made a colossal error the year before last. It was Black Friday, and I completely forgotten about Black Friday. And I had no idea what is, a marketing calendar, or this idea that you should prepare for Black Friday like at least a month before Black Friday comes. Obviously, what I did is what every young entrepreneur does. You wait until it's Black Friday. They're like, oh, now I'm going to do something. So I start spamming them with emails. And I was sending my emails to everyone, and I completely screwed up my deliverability. I think we're talking like 5% open rate, or no, 5%, I don't know, whatever it was so bad that I spent the next year slowly fixing the deliverability. Like I went through and I purposefully started to delete people that were not active on the list, filtering through them. And for someone who enjoys writing, I don't like writing emails. And the reason is I don't have the time to do it. So then I have two options. Either I don't send the email or I have to send it with AI, or I have to have somebody else write it for me, which I don't feel too comfortable with. And so what's happened for even the last couple of months, I feel like I didn't write any email. So the sequence ended, and that was it. My emails are mostly just, hey, here's a link to the blog. Actually, the mail is a short version of the blog, and the blog is a short version of the YouTube video. That's kind of how we wanted to structure it. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of emails. I'll change my mind in the future, probably because somebody else will take care of them. But the truth is, I've encountered maybe one or two online businesses where I enjoyed reading. And I know it's wrong because what am I doing? I'm saying I don't enjoy reading emails. I would not convert from email. Therefore, nobody would convert from email, which is not true. So obviously it works. There are conversions that we can do. But this is the beauty behind having an operations manager who takes care of that. So in the future, I'm sure we'll have a webinar release or something. And I just want him to tell me, Tim, does this look okay before I send it? I'm like, all good. Because it just doesn't, I don't derive pleasure anymore. Because it's no longer this personal conversation that you're having with the person. And because I'm not running a blog, I'm running a business. So again, how much time should I be devoting to writing a blog? Realistically, very little. I feel like the actual outcome is minute. But for some people, very, very important. And it's nice to have some retargeting, definitely abandoned cart stuff. That stuff has worked quite well. So as soon as somebody goes into the checkout, it's a 2-form checkout. So the first step is to give you the information. Then they see the price and they're like, oh no, I got to think about it. It's like, hey man, how's your English going? 2 days later, your English is still shit. Yeah, you might want to buy the product, So you slowly motivate them like that. And then obviously you need proper tracking to know which one worked, why it worked, how it worked. The only problem is you keep getting a lot of Indians that will be DMing you. Like, I will fix your email sequence. I'm like, fine. I let one guy once do the sequence. It was horrible. It was really bad. So then I was like, you know what? It's fine. I don't need your help.
Yeah, thank you, but no thank you. And
basically,
yeah, it's a problem most course creators have. It's always the same kind of people. Unbelievable.
I mean, they try. I get it. They need to also make a living. But this one guy, actually, I kind of liked him. He was really good when he was writing stuff. And then we hopped onto a call, and it was like potato camera, and most importantly, I couldn't hear anything. Because the problem with, again, Indian speakers, I'm in this business. I don't know what the hell you're saying. Like, you say 5 sentences, I understand 3 words. I have the same issue with my accountants sometimes, because also they're Indian. So I'm like, you're going to need to get a translator. Like, because I don't know what you're telling me. So it's an issue, and they should work on their accent. Again, the problem is that guy writing the emails, part of me wants to help him. Part of me wants to go like, come here, son, sit down. Let me tell you a few things. But I don't have the time to do it. And because of their level of English and cultural difference, you'll spend an eternity fixing some Indian guy's English, and you'll get paid what, 50 rupees or whatever they've got? They cannot afford that price range. So unfortunately, if you go to serve their market, you have to serve massive. I mean, you have to go like really aggressive, very, very cheap. And it doesn't work. For a while, I even sold the ebook in India, and then it was really bad because immediately you start getting spammed. Suddenly my email was overwhelmed by like fake applications of half of Bangladesh. And as soon as we raised the price from like €5 to 15, I immediately got a comment on Instagram like, oh, this is too much. We cannot afford this. And I get it. For them, that's might be a lot of money. That might be their whole, weekly salary or whatever. But I still have a business to run. I still have to pay the cost of the advertising, bear the cost of the taxes, the operations. It's a tough business to be in because, again, you want to help the everyday person. But if their buying power is not there, or if they're a horrible customer to start with, or if they're causing you more complications than not, because we have an expression I think it's also expression in English, but like you give them a finger, they'll take your whole hand. And I've seen that especially in Slovenia. Slovenian clients are a lot like this. They just feel like you'll drop everything and help them. Dear Philip, I already know because Philip, Philip, same thing. Like I'm advertising on, maybe they come from Facebook because it's not on Facebook. I advertise through the Flip English course name. On Instagram, I advertise through my name, my personal name. But I'm always shocked, like, so you're such a big fan, but you don't know what my name actually is. So dear Philip, blah, blah, blah. And then of course the email is in Slovenian language, which is always a great way to practice English. The best way to practice English is to always be writing in your native language. To have your phone in your native language, to have your Google in your native language. I'm like, oh my God. Yes, I have this thing. It would be delightful to go on a call with you. You take some time for me. I'm like, yes, you and half the world would like my time. Like I can't, even if I wanted to. And I don't want to because we'd be losing time. So it's setting realistic expectations. And I feel like the longer you're in the business, the more you want to remove yourself from the business, which sounds wrong, but essentially I don't even want to reply to that email. I would rather have my DM setter get to her and say, hi, I see that you're trying to contact Philip. By the way, his name is actually Tim. Tim is very busy right now. If you want, you can apply for the coaching here, blah, 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 blah. Because you give one of them the opportunity, then all of them are going to expect that opportunity. And that's just not how business works.
Exactly. Knowing what you know so far, if you could go back and tell the kids with a headset on one thing, what would it be as an advice?
Sell. I am so angry with myself because when I was doing that gaming channel, I had seasons. There was a season of, they called me the ego boy because I was very arrogant at that time. There was a season they called me the average because I was supposedly like not above average, but I was just average. And I was like, whatever, I'll play with that. But one of the seasons I had was called the Sellout. And during that season, I basically took all the sponsorships I could. There was this free Golden Eagles application. So I put it as the intro. And as I was talking to them, there was a Russian company. They said, we will pay you 20 euros for every video that has that thing in front of it. I was like, fine. And then I uploaded one video a day for the whole month. I was like, I'm going to make some money. And thinking back of it, like $20 is nothing, like nothing for like a whole YouTube video being made. But I could make a lot of them because of the style of content that I had. I even sold a little bit of merch at one time, but I was an idiot. I had my ad revenue turned off because I wanted to turn off my advertisement. You know why? Because I wanted the person watching my content to have a better experience. Because I thought if you come to my YouTube channel and there's no ads, you will respect me for it. You'll say, oh my God, it was so nice watching Tim's video, because he doesn't have advertisements. Well, inadvertently what I did was I just completely cut off any revenue that I would have generated. So sell, like make a product and sell it, whatever it is, you'll figure it out. Maybe the first one's not going to be good. My first product was called 30-day online English course or accent course. And when I launched it, because you join today, you'll get the 30th video on the 30th day. So I have 30 days to make it. And so I recorded the first week, sold it, and then after 5 days I got the flu. And I was like, okay, now I've got a problem. Now I've got to record the rest of it. And it was horrible. It was a really, really bad course, but it was a start. And then you take that and you iterate it and you make the version 2 of it. You're like, okay, I've taken what was bad about it and I've improved it. And then you improve it again. And then you take the ebook that I made, which was a separate product. And then you join the two things together. And then you put the third thing. And that's kind of how a product gets developed. But people just see the end product. They want to have that perfection. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. No video, no YouTube channel, no nothing. So I wish I could go back in time and sell because I had a really loyal audience. I had a lot of people that I could have provided content for. There was a lot of rich people. Look, I was streaming on Twitch. I had the highest I think I had was about 220 subscribers. And you're getting paid, they're paying $5 to Amazon or Twitch, you would be making about half of that. So 2.5 euros per that payment. So not a lot of money, but enough for a kid who's in high school to think, ooh, maybe I could do this full time. I had guys in that stream that would donate ridiculous amounts of money. We're talking $5,000-$10,000 euros together. If only I knew how to monetize to those. Because that's a cash cow. That's a guy who's got his mum's credit card, Amex or whatever, and he's just swiping. And for him, it's pennies. For you, that's literal survivability. If you can find those clients and sell to them, because you'll provide a service they're going to be really happy with. They will pay you. They'll be happy with it. It's a win-win scenario, but you have to find them. So again, we get to that unfortunate debate. The low-paying guy comes to your Twitch chat and goes, hey man, can you play this song for me? And then he keeps spamming the same thing on YouTube, And then this guy is like, €5, play this meme song. 5 minutes later, it's like, €5, play this meme song. You're like, dude, do it one more time. I'm not going to do it. And he just keeps spamming it because it's like, okay, then here's $100. Play it. I'm like, oh my God, I have to play it. And it's like, it's some chicken meme that he just, for whatever reason, because that was funny for him. Find those people that have the money and find the solution for them, sell it. And everybody, again, to cycle back to what I said, find one thing you're good at, drill it, become the best at it, then you can monetize it. And I always imagine how good would a world be if everybody was skilled in one particular thing. It'd be an incredible world. But unfortunately, most of us just say, and it hurts me when they say, I'm just average. I'm just average. It's like, what do you mean you're just average? If you took one thing that you're a little bit above average in, or one thing that you're average in, and you drilled 10,000 hours into that thing, I was average at baking bread, and then I did it a bit more. And now it's like I can make bread without even knowing what I'm doing. People, what's the recipe? I don't have a recipe. There's no method. There's no step-by-step program. Just do it. But people want that. And this is, again, the difference between top dog and the small dog. Because the average human being, they want the step-by-step program. They want, hold my hand, take me to the gym, show me how to eat. Not what to eat, how to eat. They need, everything needs to be shown to them. That guy who's affluent and has the right mentality, you just roughly show him the mode Like, oh, that's how I do it. Makes sense. And they just do it on their own. And you can see it because working with them is that their head works in a different frequency. And you see it. And again, I'm not judging the everyday person. I don't want this to sound like it's a rant, although I love ranting. But I've been there. I worked 3 years in the kitchen. I worked 3 years as a copywriter, sales agent, travel agent. I've had a regular job. I've done the business. I've done the content creation. I never talk about things I don't have experience in. But I always say the same thing. People working 8 hours a day, being tired, not having the time. And then you're there as an entrepreneur. And they're like, what are you doing on the weekend? And I'm like, what is a weekend? It's
Exactly.
a whole different ballgame.
Exactly. Tim, thank you very much. This was a really, really great conversation. Where should people go to find you and get started?
The easiest place is flip-english.com. We have a quiz you can fill out. You can fill out the form for the coaching inquiry. You can get started with the ebook. You can also DM me on Instagram. Timotej Bonifer will be the place to find me. But I think if you've listened to this, you probably will start getting targeted by Mark Zuckerberg's advertising. So I think you'll see me around.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's it for this episode. If you got something out of this, come find us at datadrivenmarketing.co. It's where we help course creators turn an audience into the actual revenue. I'm Dominik. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.